Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Peakboy25 here, and today I am bringing you another coaster review. This is Vortex, the B&M flows coaster at Carowinds. Now, I just want to say this is not anything really too special of a ride. It was my opening to my day, and I did promise this video for quite a while now, and I'll make my next promise, unless some other news thing comes through, such as the Great Wolf Lodge deal going through, which I probably won't make a separate video on. Great America Joker posts another construction update, or some other big news around locally or possibly internationally if it's like really big news and I want to report on it. But otherwise, my next planned video is the finale to my Coaster Bonanza series. It's February, I started in September, and I'm gonna finally polish it off. And I have President's Day off school, so I'm aiming for that, which is Monday. And this is being recorded on Monday, February 20th, 2017. If you're watching this years later. If anyone even is. So yeah, let's go right ahead. Our drop. Now, Vortex's drop is interesting, but not really that good. It's got a pre-drop, classic B&M element right there. They've had this on a lot of their things. They don't really do that many pre-drops anymore, but they used to have pre-drops on every coaster. It was like to relieve stress of the chain lift. It was a pre-drop followed by not really a straight track drop. It was just banking right the whole time. Because if you look at the drop, there's barely any straight section. Let's see if I don't have a mouse. I don't have a clicker here. You can just see it drop and then it just banks. There's no straight track. If you look at like Rougarou's drop, it drops, banks, and then drops again. And oh, I see a typo. Like I said, if you see the picture as well, it's immediately followed by a vertical loop, and has a little straight track, banks the entire way down. The drop isn't that good. It does not satisfy too much, but it does the job of building speed. For that, it's a below average drop, and I'm giving it a 4 out of 10. It's respectable as well, because you might get some a little bit of intensity on that as well, going straight into the vertical loop. And speaking of intensity, we're going to have the intensity category. It's an old style B&M. It's among the first coasters they produced. It's intense, they got a loud roar, and despite being a small ride, it's still rather intense. I mean, it's not as intense as it could be, because if you look there, there's quite a few more graceful turns. Sometimes you pop out of a turn, go into another turn, instead of just rushing through it, blitzing through it, whatever it is. The layout's still rather compact, intensity's above average, and the whole concept of standing on the ride adds intensity. I mean, my current score is 6 out of 10, but give it a 7. If I had the memory right now, it could possibly be a 7 out of 10 for intensity. It's fairly intense. Duration. Now, this is actually a very short ride, considering there's like 2,040 feet of track, just over 2,000 feet of track. It just goes up, loops, banks left, goes into a helix, upward ascending helix, down into a corkscrew, and a couple bang turns before the final brake run. And when I watched the POV, it lasted 35 seconds from the lift hill disengagement to the brakes. It's quite below my average point, which is right around 50 seconds. So I'll give it a 3. 3 out of 10 on duration. Smoothness. It's a B&M. I mean, the train and the track move in sync, and there's not a lot of transition issues. However, that's not the only thing that's the only thing that really saves it though, because it's aggressive, it's old, bulky over the shoulder restraints, and instability of standing up. It's surprisingly frequent jostling. It's not the worst B&M I've ever been on. Mantis, Iron Wolf, now known as Apocalypse. They're pretty bad, but this one, it had its moments. I was better at restraining my neck, but it still had its jostling moments. It was still rather uncomfortable. It had a bit of bumps and a bit of a rattle. I mean, it's not the smoothest ride. Maybe you can give it a 7 as well. I think a 6 is a bit too low now to think about it. So I think the smoothness could be a bit higher, but I gave it a 6. It's not going to matter because it's only going to matter to the total and average score, which really doesn't because it's just my score in the end. These are just to give you some sort of scale, the score out of 10. Restraints. Now, this is an easy one. It's a stand-up coaster. Restraints are always uncomfortable. They're bulky over-the-shoulder restraints and a bicycle seat wedged in between your legs. Very uncomfortable for males, just to point out. Multiple places. There are pressure points on your shoulders, your chest, your waist, your groin, between, like, your thighs, and your legs are being pulled out as well. because like the floor is not exactly the softest, but if it was, it kind of, yeah, I don't know. This is not a comfortable ride. It's a stand-up coaster. It's gonna get a 4 out of 10 because the restraints on stand-up coasters are always like pretty laughably bad. And airtime, no airtime. I'm just gonna say that right now. There's basically no airtime on this ride. It's a stand-up coaster. You're locked in place. You're not meant for airtime. The only airtime sensation you get is occasionally a fuzzy feeling of negative G-force in your legs. So you might crest over something. But it's just it's really not meant to give airtime, this ride. This ride is not meant to give you airtime. You're locked in place. You're not going to pop out of your seat at all. You might be pushed up a bit, but that's not airtime. You're just locked firmly in place. Your feet are on the ground. Your shoulders are there. Your groin's there. Everything's just there, and they're not moving. It's just your head that's being knocked around a bit. And, yeah, no airtime. Just, they're more meant for the stand-up and inversion experience. It's just really meant for the standing-up experience. That's really what this ride's meant for, not the airtime. And theming, I think this is the second to last category. Name's generic, theme's generic, if it even exists at all. Ride's even a clone of the former Vortex to California's Great America, now turning into Patriot. No theming to any degree, I'm going to say. Vortex is just a random name tag, just to give it some sort of identification. There's no Vortex theming whatsoever. I mean, the thing that I think most of Vortex about this ride is the black supports. There's no station theming, there's no queue theming, there's no train theming, there's no on-ride theming. The most theming I see I think it's just the black support beams, but that's nothing. 1 out of 10. Bottom of the barrel theming. No theming whatsoever. Awful. And finally, our inversions category. This ride features 2 inversions, a vertical loop right after the drop, and a corkscrew right towards the middle of the ride. Both are fine. I do personally prefer the vertical loop, but the corkscrew is some extra content because I know a lot of stand-up coasters had 2 inversions of a loop and corkscrew, and I do like the extra depth given. The way I grade inversions, if you don't know, I give inversions points. 1 point for every inversion it has, and then extra points if it's a good inversion or a smooth inversion. They don't suck. And basically, so a Vekoma SLC would automatically be getting a 5 in inversions, which is probably the best score it'll get. So yeah, that's Vortex. Vortex has 2 inversions, vertical loop, corkscrew. They're fine. The loop's better. I'm going to say that right now. Corkscrew's a bit jostly because it's not the best element. And it's going to move right on. Totals. Okay, so we're just going to go right ahead here. The total score is 29 out of 80. Could be a bit higher if I buff up some of the categories like the intensity or the smoothness. But basically, the average score, right now it's 3.3 and 5/8, but just say 3.5 to 4. That's the average score of my review. However, my score, 6 out of 10. I'm going to give this ride a nice 6 out of 10. Not the best ride, but I have nothing against it. Best way to put it. It's okay. It's an okay way to start my day. I had a few fun moments on it. The vertical loop was nice. Actually standing up for the first time on a standing coaster instead of squatting. Or was that Georgia Scorcher? One of those 2 coasters, that was my first time ever standing on a coaster because it was more of a squat down coaster when I was a kid. I would definitely advise picking up this credit considering that this is the last surviving stand-up coaster in the Cedar Point chain. Or Cedar Fair chain, my bad. But this is not anything special. If Carowinds is your home park, you have the right to ride this thing multiple times. It's the first ride you'll get to if you take the right side of the park. If you go left, you'll get either Intimidator or Nighthawk, but I wanted to get to Fury as soon as possible, because there's rain in the forecast. I'll put up a review of that eventually. But Vortex was my opening, because I stuck to the right side of the park. If you're really visiting, if you're just here to pick up credits and ride a few really good rides multiple times, don't really take this ride too seriously. You don't need to ride it multiple times. I rode it in the front row, and that's really all you need. If you want the best experience, just go in the front row. I can't imagine that the back would be even worse. And I was lined up in the queue this ride before the park even opened, so I was just waiting in the queue. They were cleaning off the station, making sure the control panels worked, doing test runs. Then I got on front row. So yeah, that's basically my Vortex experience. So if you guys enjoyed the video, feel free So leave a like, comment, subscribe. I mean, liking is a good thing. Comments are my favorite, and subscribing, you're the real MVP at that point. I can't even put it on myself. So let's just say, I hope you guys have a great day, great year, whatever unit of time, unit X, great that, great X, yes, and just, and as always, really hope you enjoyed watching my video, and as always, because I like repetition, peace.